In February 2020, my mother passed away. In March, the world was shut down. Overall depression, lack of exercise, and binge drinking to cope with all the pressure led to me being the heaviest I have ever been in my life. But that all changed in January of 2022. My fiance had the idea to book us a beach vacation. And it was at that moment that we made a pact to one another to go ahead and get our beach bodies back. So, based off that introduction, if you're interested to see how I did it, go ahead and stick around because that's what today's video is about. Everyone, my name is Ken, this is Phoenix Rising, and today we're discussing my body transformation. So it is worth noting that I already had workout equipment. All right, I had the dumbbells, 15 pounds, 25 pounds, and 35 pounds. I started working out when I was younger, so I had already gotten a base started. So I had this base strength, right? And really, all I did was make a couple purchases that made everything better. So there's the cap bench that I have here, the weightlifting bench that's adjustable. It allows me to target specific body parts, such as my upper chest, which, as you can tell from my physique, is one of the most lacking parts of my body. There is the monkey feet, which allowed me to target my hamstrings, as I had mentioned previously. And then after moving to our new apartment, of course, we're at the top floor, so to be courteous to my neighbors underneath, I bought the mats, the puzzle piece mats, and I also decided to make a purchase and fill in the gaps so I could increase my weight increments in 5s instead of 10-pound increments. So sure, I could sit here and talk all day long about all the exercises that I do, but ultimately, what I want to tell you all is what you don't want to hear. And that is simply that it is 70% diet, 30% exercise. And that ratio is probably very lenient towards exercise. I would probably say it's 85 to 90% diet and 15 to 10% exercise. So where do you start? How do you figure this out? Well, if you check the description, I have a link to a calorie calculator. You simply input your information, be honest with it when entering that information, and then it will tell you a list of maintenance calories, how to lose minor weight loss, and having major weight loss. If you scroll further down, it will also show you how to fluctuate that intake. Now, one thing a lot of people try to push is don't take too much protein. All right, that's going to be really difficult. Really, the biggest pitfall that I can see most people having is falling into the trap of fad diets or meal plans such as intermittent fasting. And I say that because I speak from experience. Some of the biggest highlights I want to make here is that sugary drinks, stay away from it entirely, especially when trying to change your diet and you're in the very beginning stages of that. Your willpower is going to be low. It's not something you're used to. It's not something that you can feasibly hold off on. So from my experience, when I was really strictly sticking to intermittent fasting, my problem was that I was eating whatever I wanted in that window because the information that I had received or that I sought out was that it doesn't matter what you eat, it matters when you eat it, which is completely wrong based on how our biology is. Yes, we are hunter-gatherers, so intermittent fasting is something that we are built upon. We are not meant to eat 3 meals a day worth 5,000 calories and work an office job. All right, we are more accustomed to eating lesser meals spaced further out. And in that sense, yes, it's good to have a feeding window if you're just getting into it. But the biggest thing that changed my approach was understanding what we are meant to do biologically, and then also understanding that our body's not going to care if it's 7 p.m. that we eat. It's not going to care if it's 10 p.m. What it's going to care about is that our daily caloric intake is X amount, and we have burned X amount of calories. A lot of influencers have made everything so complicated that people don't even want to touch it. They don't even want to touch the subject. However, what I would recommend here is to seek out 3 individuals on YouTube: Jeffrey Nippard, Jeremy Ethier, and Taylor Shook. And while I listed Taylor last, he is the one who made eating the easiest thing for me. Their general rule of thumb is to ingest 1 gram of protein for every 1 pound of lean body mass that you wish to attain. I personally feel like that's unfeasible on some days. Okay. And especially when I cut, what I do is I aim for 100 grams of protein per day. So that is typically done by eating whole foods, beef, chicken, turkey, eggs, whatever I can get really good protein from, and then supplementing the rest with whey protein powder or plant-based protein powder. I fluctuate between the two. Right now, I have this really nice protein blend that I'm going from that is plant-based. I plan on doing a Protein 101 video here very soon, so keep a lookout for that. And we're going to go down everything from shopping, what to look out for, and proper mixing, because I struggled with that for the longest time. All right, so we've gotten the calorie calculator out of the way, and we've got nutrition tackled a little bit. Now that you have this plan set in place, now we need to talk about exercise. Rule number 1 about weight loss: cardio is not going to help you. I know I'm going to catch flack from that because the debate is out there. Is cardio going to help? Does cardio help? Cardio helps a little bit, right? And when you're starting out, if you're really overweight, walking is king. Walking is king. If you're in a caloric deficit and you are walking, that is going to help out tremendously if you are big. The reason being is that you are moving a lot of weight. This is not throwing shade at anybody, but mechanically speaking, you're moving a ton of weight there, and lifting weights is what's going to help you out more. A caloric deficit with heavy weightlifting is going to help. So the bigger you are, the more weight you're moving. Walking is king. Moving on to actual strength training, body weight exercises are going to be the best way to go. When it comes to the exercise portion, definitely look at Jeremy Ethier, definitely look at Jeffrey Nippard, and also Taylor Shook. Those guys are really great. Another guy that I would highly recommend is Sean Nelawanish. I have no idea how to pronounce his name. I probably butchered it. That's fine. I will link all of these channels in the description just so you guys can go get a good idea of what you want. Because I'm not a personal trainer by any means. I have an idea generally of what is good versus what is not good. Anyone that comes to me for advice, which there have been a few, I tell them where to go to find their calorie calculator to really dial that in. I have fixed pain for people in the past, which is what really urged me to come out of my shell and do this whole thing. But the big things is that, number 1, the fitness industry makes it more complicated than it really is. Okay. And then number 2, ourselves. You are the biggest obstacle you will have to overcome, and more so your mind. I know that because I had to go through it. As I started to get bigger, I was lying to myself constantly. Oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And then the clothes test happened, right? I go to put on these jeans that I used to be able to fit in no problem, and I couldn't zip them up. That is when it hit me that, oh man, I'm fat. It was a rude awakening. I'll never forget the way that I felt. And I came this close when we were moving to throwing all my old clothes away because I felt like I would never be able to get down to that point again. Now, luckily, I did. I have that mentality that it is all on me, that extreme ownership mentality. And I buckled down, and I got there through working out and having a caloric deficit. Really, that's it. Working out regularly in no specific way, shape, or form, just what I felt and needed. Now, obviously, yes, I do have some muscle. Am I a bodybuilder? Absolutely not. But I'm just a regular guy, that has some nice definition here and there. And I'm, a work in progress. But that's how we all are, right? We are all works in progress. Whatever you do, hold yourself accountable, but do it to a degree. There is a fine line that we walk with our inner voices where we, and this is especially present with me, we're much too aggressive with ourselves. Hold yourself accountable, but also don't be so aggressive. Don't talk down to yourself. Don't demean yourself. Show yourself love. You are a human going through a human experience. We're meant to fail. We're meant to trip and stumble. It is inevitable. The thing is to just identify it. The thing is to address it and to do it from a place of love, self-love, right? Not just overall love, just self-love. Do something for you. Do it at your pace. Nothing is universal. Unfortunate, plain as day. Nothing is universal. I could go through step by step what my workout routine was. I could tell you step by step what I ate and what I did. That's not going to work for you like it worked for me because we are not biologically built the same. No human is. That is why some humans react to medicine, some humans don't. That is why some humans have allergies, some humans don't. Some people can't drink milk. I just recently figured out that some people can't relax their eyes and let everything go blurry. I can do that. I'm doing it right now. I'm just relaxing my eyes and everything's going blurry. And then I refocus them. Amazing. We are all not built the same. And honestly, just when you go through this, plan your routines around pitfalls. I've seen many people. One of my friends, he is one of my best friends, actually. He's told me all the time, constantly, the last, how long has it been? 14 years. He has told me the last 14 years that he wants to lose weight, but every time he starts, something happens and he stumbles. He doesn't plan for the stumble. Plan for the stumble. Something's going to happen. Something's going to derail you. And something's going to get in the way. You're going to start building that habit. It takes 21 days to build a habit. Once you start getting into that habit, once you come across that hurdle, a day off will break it. A day off will break it. So what you have to do is have a built-in safety net. Now that safety net is not necessarily going to be a group of people that are going to get you to go. I unfortunately cannot tell you what that was. What it was for me was getting my beach body back so I could propose to my then girlfriend and now soon to be wife. We did it for each other. It was to get that spark back because that was the dark period of the relationship, which I'm not going to talk about for, the sake of privacy. However, all I can tell you is to hold yourself accountable, do it from a place of love, self-love, and do it with planning and understanding that you are going to stumble. The cycle is going to break. And understanding that taking that first step is like taking that first step all over again. It will be the hardest thing you do to get on track. As I'm recording this video, I currently have not worked out for almost 2 weeks. I've been doing video production last week, and then this week, of course, holiday weekend, right? I've been drinking, hanging out, Two video games recently came out that I've been very interested in. One I'd been waiting for 3 years, so I've been playing that and planning out the channel. It's a constant evolution going on up here, but my time has suddenly dwindled. Luckily, I have that accountability mentality and I've been, I check the scale very regularly. So while I've been laxing and drinking and eating whatever I want, and in the back of my mind, I keep these calories, in check in a vague range, right? I don't track my macros like a madman, but I'm still able to maintain a certain weight range just based on what my body is used to now. So it's been a year and a half since we've gone on this journey, and really the last 6 months I've really dialed it in, because it was not until December when I did my massive cut that really dialed it in for me. I am going to do a specific video over caloric deficits, what is healthy versus what is not. The very brief explanation is, if you work an office job, absolutely cut down. If you do not, if you work a physically demanding job, you're going to need to eat. Don't go too extreme. Make sure you're hydrated constantly and just get enough to maintain. Maybe go a little bit lower. You're not going to want to extreme cut like I did. But in my case, I do work an office job. So I did an extreme cut. I kept my protein at 100 grams per day because I felt, and that was just from my shakes. I got the rest from everything else that I ate. Sandwiches are really good for getting your fats and carbs in addition to the rest of your protein. And just get used to checking labels, right? Reading the labels on the food that you buy. Stay away from sugar. Stay away from added sugar. Now, fruits are going to have sugar by default. That's just the name of the game when it comes to fruits, and some sugars are good. We do need sugar as humans. It is very important that I preface this. I don't need people going on an extreme, just deficit and saying, I can't have sugar, and then like having issues with their blood sugar levels, okay? We don't need that. You do need some sugar. Stay away from added sugars. Stay away from sodas. No-brainer stuff. Stuff that has a lot of added sugar and like 350 calories per can. Stay away from it. Another big thing is to check the portion size. These labels get tricky, right? Not only do you look for sugar, you look at the labels, you look at the serving size. And my fiance and I ran into this last week. We were looking at bread, at flatbread at the grocery store. And she was like, oh, look at this. Only so-and-so calories per serving. One serving was 1/4 of a flatbread. All right, there were 4 servings in that. So take whatever it is, times that by 4, and that's what your total caloric intake will be for that. So you have to do some quick math. It takes all of about 10 seconds to look at it, read it over, and then pull out your phone and calculate it. And then based on what your goal is, you'll know whether you should have that or not. Now, I've gotten to the point in my journey where I can essentially eat whatever I want, drink whatever I want, and it won't impact me much. And that is because the human body can take anything. And I mean anything. Well, maybe not anything. It can't take bullets, right? It can't take wounds. It can't take damage. So the human body can take that. It can take a lot of foods and stuff in moderation, but stuff like, stuff that's toxic, all right? Use common sense. It can't take that in moderation. But the reason I can do that is because, again, I have that accountability. I have that base built. And this leads me to the last thing that I'm going to talk about here today. Build a solid foundation. When you start, expect this to be a long journey. But instead of looking way far to the end and being like, man, that's so far away, I'm going to give up, fall in love with the journey. And you do that by looking at it in small increments. Once you hit that 21-day mark, you've started building a habit. Build upon that. That's your foundation. And remember, you're going to stumble. You're going to stumble. It's inevitable. Do you want to do this? Answer that question. Do you really want this? Yes, I don't want to be fat. Okay. Well, this is what it's going to take. Well, I kind of want to have this food. I don't have all that time. Meal prep. But we have this planned and that planned, or my partner doesn't want to help me out. And do you want it or do you not? It is going to be hard. I'm not saying by any means it's going to be easy. It is going to be hard, but you can frame your mind in a way to where you enjoy the journey. Love the process. That is a huge thing that is applying to me right now with this YouTube creation. Side little tangent. Don't know how many people of you have known my channel or have been here from the beginning, but I have had a tendency in the past to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and we're going to do this. And I fall off after a week and a half or a month. And that is how I'm approaching it this time, is enjoy the journey. Find the bits that I love the most about it. Find a way to do what I love, which is to share my knowledge with people, because I'm constantly absorbing knowledge. And ultimately, I would like to help people. So that's why I am here. And I am telling you that it is up to you to make sure that you get to the finish line, to reach your goal. Hold yourself accountable. It is nobody else's fault. There are going to be obstacles. You have to overcome it. Your biggest obstacle is going to be yourself. Build a solid foundation. Loosely track your macros. I would say don't, even if you're getting into it the first bit, if you're just getting into it, don't track your macros that hard. Maximize protein intake. Reduce your added sugar intake to 0. And track your overall caloric intake. You get those 3 things down, you're golden with nutrition. Focus then on working out. Carve out a time to go walking. If you're brand new to exercise, start by walking. It's golden. It is highly underrated. Highly underrated. If you can only walk a quarter mile a day, walk a quarter mile a day. Try to build that up to 2/4 of a mile. Or, as they say in regular measurements, a half mile. Work your way up to 3/4 of a mile. Within a month, trying to work that out week by week, look at that. You can suddenly walk a whole mile. Repetition. Volume training over heavy training. Try to avoid injury, right? That's the plan. Try to avoid it completely. We're focusing on improving. For those of you that are semi-fit like I am and want to really carve out a better physique, ask yourself this question. Are you going to compete? Are you going to be a bodybuilder? Or do you just want that aesthetic physique for influencing? Look, I'm not the most fit guy, right? Aesthetically, I'm not the most aesthetic. I do have, for an average Joe, I do have a good body and I have a good understanding. So really, what I would recommend doing is volume training over heavy training. Or at the very minimum, mix the two. I think the 1-rep mentality leads to a lot of injuries, which sidelines people, which sets them back more than if they were to just be like, okay, I hit my max and I'm not going to push it today because it's very questionable if I can make it. Focus on recovery. Recovery is a huge thing. I only work out 3 times a week at max. That's just who I am. But anyways, guys, I think I have maxed out on what I can provide you knowledge-wise here today. I'm trying to avoid getting to a point where I just become preaching constantly. That's not what I'm about. So, if you learned anything from this video, give it a like. Consider sharing. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. If you have a very specific question that you don't want to put in the comments and you'd like me to answer anonymously, consider sending me an email at askphoenixrising@gmail.com. Yes, you saw me read it on my screen. That's just who I am. Doing all of that fun stuff will help me out tremendously. and I'm still going to continue doing this whether it happens or not. Just that's who I am, but I would really appreciate it. Anyways, my name is Ken. This has been Phoenix Rising, reminding you always to embrace the light and spread the light. And hey, I'll see you next time.